Tighten those laces, straighten that headband. It's time for CHGO Marathon, a podcast about the culture, community, and challenge of the world's fourth largest marathon here in our great city. CHGO Marathon is brought to you by Goose Island, the official beer of CHGO, and the beer you'll get when you cross the finish line on October 8th. Find one of Goose Island's Chicago locations at gooseisland.com/locations. What's up, everyone? I'm Kevin Kaduk, head of content at CHGO and a first-time entrant in the Chicago Marathon. Started this podcast to really keep myself honest in my marathon training and also to give myself a chance to talk to some really cool people. And today I'm talking to a really cool person. It's Aaron Ingram from 7onSundays, the Southside running community, one of the city's standout running clubs. Check them out on Instagram. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're also a first-time entrant to the Chicago Marathon as well.
Absolutely. It's my first Chicago, second marathon ever. We'll see what happens in October.
Well, I think that's what I'm also thinking. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens on the show, but I think we have a pretty good show lined up. We're going to talk about just what goes into building a running community like 7onSundays, your personal running journey, and then probably check in on both of how we're doing with training. We haven't done this podcast, I think, in 3 weeks, so some stuff has happened. Nothing really major to report, but we'll get there. First, want to have a pretty cool announcement. I promised T-shirts, and we have T-shirts. And not only do we have T-shirts, we have running tech shirts that have the CHGO Marathon podcast logo on them. You can buy them right now at chgolocker.com. And again, it's the type of shirt that you get, if you sign up for a race or whatever. And so definitely check that out. Those are there.
Great logo.
I love the logo, done by our esteemed designer, Eric Weedham in Denver. So I think he captured the kind of spirit of what we're going for here.
I for sure need one of those.
Yeah. And then also I have stickers with that logo on coming to me from Sticker Mule. And basically the deal with this, if you want a CHGO Marathon podcast sticker for your water bottle, your laptop, or whatever, make a donation to my marathon fund, which is supporting Cal's Angels, the pediatric cancer charity. Forward that to me at kevin@allchgo.com, and I will drop that in the mail for you. So that's a pretty easy way to get one of those. Also, if you're new here, make sure you check out all of our past episodes on CHGO Marathon. We've done a lot of cool things with a lot of cool guests. We talked to YouTube star Kofuzi. That was a good one. We've talked with Tribune columnist Heidi Stevens. We've talked with some other people here at CHGO who are marathon runners or are running the marathon, Jared Willis, Janice Scurio. And we're efforting a lot of cool guests in the future, too. So make sure you stand in. I think we're going to be doing about another 5 of these before the actual date, which is crazy because it's only like 52 days until the marathon. But here we are. So thank you for all the support you've given us so far, and hopefully everyone's training is going well. All right, let's get into it, Aaron. What is 7onSundays?
7onSundays is a Bronzeville-based run crew. Mm-hmm. We run every day. Every Sunday, sorry, at 7 a.m. Some of us run every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely community-based. It's community-facing. And we're just proud to represent the South Side in running. Sure.
So you meet, like you said, every Sunday at 7 a.m. at 35th and King Drive?
Yeah, 35th and King Drive.
And anyone who goes out there has the option of going for a 3-mile run or a 7-mile run.
Yes. We originally started only 7, but we wanted to just make it a little bit easier, a little bit more introductory. Because the bottom line of our goal is just to get more people on the South Side running anyway, and just make it fun.
Yeah. So you started this in 2018 with Ian Gonzalez and Craig Taylor, who were your coworkers at the Bucktown Nike store. What was really the impetus? Like, how did you set up that first run?
That first run was just a lot of talking in the break room. We were just talking about how we missed when Nike had Run Club. But we wanted to do something different. And the name really just came out of when we could meet and still make it to work. Sunday was the latest time that we all started. So at 7 a.m., it was convenient to do it on Sunday.
Sure.
And it felt like a good time so it wasn't too hot as well. So yeah, it kind of just started like September 15th-ish in 2018.
And if you check out the 7onSundays Instagram page, there's like I don't want to say like spiritual like icons on there, but there is a little bit of a spiritual church kind of tie in that you have in some of your marketing stuff.
Absolutely. It's mostly just based out of convenience of the name and Sundays, but also we wanted to be a community and be like, just get the point across that we are a community. Yeah. And like, especially in like the Southside Black community, one of the strongest pillars is church, where we're not necessarily a Christian group. This is kind of where we draw inspiration from.
Gotcha.
The marketing and just bringing people together, however they are now as they come. Kind of just comes natural through the day. We honestly do less and less of the church things in our marketing, but it just comes natural for all of just us being together. And the prayer hands are just like sticking. That's kind of like our thing, but yeah.
Well, running can be a spiritual thing. I mean, it is a spiritual thing in a lot of different ways. So
we kind of like to call it like the church of the long run.
I love that. The other one, what was the offside here? You were just telling me another one of your sayings is no pace, just vibes.
Yeah, no pace, just vibes.
I like that one.
Kind of just the same as like come as you are. Sundays are super chill. You can get a person that is like a Boston qualifier running with a person that's running their first marathon at 11-minute pace. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
We're just there for each other.
And so, definitely more of a social thing. You're doing your real serious runs during the week or on Saturdays, and Sundays just to go out there and enjoy each other's company and enjoy the route that you guys take. You guys made a concerted decision that you weren't going to run on the lakefront, correct?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Because everybody runs on the lakefront, and people that are new to like the neighborhood, we want to give them a chance to see it. We also want to just have visibility for the people in the neighborhood that aren't running. Yeah. So maybe inspire them to get up and go.
I mean, you've talked about this in previous interviews. I mean, you look on the north side and there's a lot of running clubs. There's a lot of running stores. There's a lot of places to get shoes and gels and gear. When you started in 2018, was that the case? And I mean, I assume that was part of the impetus behind you guys starting this.
Yeah. It was really just to fill that void. I've been running before 2018, and I always had to like go north to find a group run. And we were kind of just tired of that. So it was like, let's do something on our own. Let's bring the trend. Like if somebody can get up and tie their shoes and just walk out the door in Lincoln Park, why can't they do it in Bronzeville, Chatham, or Inglewood, or wherever they are? It should be the same.
What was the obstacle for that before you started doing it?
I think there's a lot of obstacles. It's not just one. Notoriously, the South Side just doesn't seem safe. But quite frankly, there just aren't that many people running distance or long distance running. In that community, it's kind of a foreign concept. I would say in high school and things like that, it was the 100, the 200 sprinting kind of focused. Yeah. And nobody was just really enjoying a long, casual jog or run throughout the neighborhoods.
what I find interesting is I think you actually do go out to marathons, particularly the big ones, and there's people of all different shapes, sizes, colors, races, religions. They're out there, but I think the representation in popular media about the running is all white, right? I mean,
in America, at least, for sure.
Yeah. So how important is it for you guys to be doing this and getting 7 on Sundays out there, and how does that actually pay off for the Black community and pushing distance running within that community?
I think it just gives them another option. In high school, it gave me another option. I wasn't a sprinter, but I found the 800, I found the mile, and I saw some improvement in something that I never thought I would be doing. It was a very foreign concept.
Yeah.
And then just the other benefits of just like mental health, getting that running hard, and just staying in shape.
Yeah.
Something to do beyond high school or just in your daily.
Yeah. I will say one thing I like about seeing you walk through here, like you're the same height as me. So another tall runner came through. I was like, yes.
Yeah. It's not that many of us out here.
There's not, like I do feel sometimes like an absolute giant, like running out on the track. So, but you're much skinnier than me, which is, also a good thing to be. So, and you had an interview with Fleet Feet in 2020, and they kind of asked you about running why you started 7 on Sundays, and you said to expand the running community, to provide representation for the running community, to fill the gap and change people's minds about the South Side, change some Southsiders' mind about running, providing a health and wellness community where everybody feels safe and to be themselves and take it honestly as far as we want to take it. If we get a kid out here that's training for high school cross country and he becomes an Olympian, that's great. But if somebody is just wanting to come out here and de-stress, that's good as well. And then one of your co-founders, Ian, says, that's a beautiful, really strong, and very politically correct answer, but there's also just being out here and just being fly as hell.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Which, again, if you look at your Instagram stuff, and you guys are powered by Nike running, so a lot of, like your Instagram page is kind of amazing. Just kind of, I don't know who does your photos. Your photos are fantastic.
Most of them are iPhone, but there's a collection.
That's just on the iPhone?
A lot of them are. This Tuesday was all iPhone.
Okay.
The reels, I do most of them.
Mm-hmm.
We try really hard just to make us look professional.
Yeah.
We're just out there every
I figure, honestly, I look at those photos and I thought it was, they have to have a marketing company or someone out, a professional photographer. Or
me and Ian and Craig are the marketing company.
That's fantastic. Talk about the style side of it, because you guys are pretty stylish, and I saw what you were wearing for your first marathon last year. You laid out your fit and everything. Like, do you like the style side of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that saying you look good, you run good?
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to throw in like your Sunday's best, like you do in church. And that's another thing too, just bringing to the forefront like who we are and just being undeniable.
Yeah.
I grew up on just like streetwear and hip hop culture, and that's how I dress. And I also want to bring that style and express it in running. And that's, again, just a part of representation, and having somebody that looks like me, like, pay attention to it and see themselves on that course or on that track.
Gotcha. So how do you like decide on a race day fit? Like, how do you go about building that? Because it's something I'm going to need help with.
For me, I have a crew.
You're wearing the T-shirt that you just promoted. That's what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Come on, you're done.
Me, honestly, that's where I start. I start with the shirt.
Yeah.
It has to represent something that I feel really closely about. If I'm running for a charity, maybe it'll be that. But right now, I have a run crew. I design most of the merch, and I make sure that it's representative of the community, whether it's Bronzeville or just our crew or the running crew at large.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a walking billboard. Not necessarily for Nike. I love them and what they do for us, but for running in our community or our culture.
Sure. So have you designed the singlet for?
Yes, I designed last year's.
Okay.
I'm designing this upcoming marathon seasons. So
is it a 7onSundays or branded or what?
it'll be 7onSundays this year. Last year was 7onSundays branded, but the big theme about it was the low end. And that's basically a colloquial term or phrase for the neighborhood. The lower numbers of the South Side. That's what people from that area call it. Like, it's from about 23rd and State up to like Washington Park. It goes as far as Cottage Grove. But like, that's what the black people on the South Side call that particular part of the South Side. It's the low end.
I mean, the Low End Theory is one of my favorite albums of all time. Does it have anything to do with it?
It doesn't.
Love trying.
But I've definitely drawn some of those same. Inspirations. I've tried to play with some designs for that too, because that's where I was actually born, and that's something that always plays in my head. Like, this is where we represent. Whether you're further south, it's like that's further south. That's whatever that neighborhood is. This is the low end, and we have a sort of a different style. We talk a little bit different, and have a different walk or beat or bop that the east side or the north side or the west side doesn't really have.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we just kind of wanted to represent that.
Yeah, I love that. So
yeah, it's nice.
I'll be looking forward to seeing what you're how you're dressed on October 8th. So
Better keep up.
yeah. So to me, it's just like I'm just trying out things that will like hold the least amount of sweat like at this point. So I did use I'm running for Cal's Angels, and we did get a New Balance singlet from them, and I actually did my long run on Saturday with it, and it didn't hold a lot of sweat. So right now that's in the lead. So I might be representing Cal's Angels. It says Cal's Angels, and has a yellow ribbon on the back. It says, support pediatric cancer and research.
Absolutely.
So.
I think that's a perfect one. But you definitely want to do dress rehearsals before you do 26. Chafing, all those things, they happen.
We talk a lot about chafing on this show. And I thought I mastered it, and I'm just talking about this because Lawrence isn't our normal producer, but I know he's going to hear this. I got this crazy line that almost looked like a wound on the outside of my hip from the liner. I was like, you think you cover everything, and you don't.
You don't. You know that you're going to pay for it at some point in a long run.
So now I know I need to put that on the outside of my hips. So is there one spot that you would recommend? I mean, outside of this is still a family show. Is there one spot where you would say definitely you need to use the Body Glide there?
I'll just say groin. That's the most sensitive. That is.
Yeah.
That's weird.
You have to put that on with a paintbrush. So
yeah. Sometimes I've actually opted for Vaseline. Just if I could just dip myself in a tub and go out.
Exactly.
It's probably what we need to do at this point because everything's chafing.
All right, let's get into a little bit about your personal journey. Like you said, you started off in high school and you were a distance runner. And a lot of people, from your area that looked like you wanted to go into short distance running, 100, 200, 400. What drew you to the 800 and beyond?
What drew me to the 800 and beyond was basically my first 2 years were in a all-boy high school, Mount Carmel. And then some things happened where I transferred to a new school. It's my first public school. We had the mile test. The requirements were laughable to me at the time just because I had come from a school where it was pretty easy standard. I was a little cocky, and I did well for the mile test, and I was recommended for track. I was new to the school. I guess that was where I would begin to just find my identity.
So you ended up at Harlan, correct?
I ended up at Harlan.
Yeah.
My junior year, and by the fall I was training for my first track season indoor, and I took that beyond to outdoor season where I became a miler, 2-miler, and then noticed I did have a little bit of speed through just having a great coach, Dr. Mark Thompson. He believed in a lot of us, and he got us to reach heights that we wouldn't have if we didn't have such a really good coach.
So what really just drew you to, like, what made you feel at home at those distances?
I think that was the only ones I could do. I wasn't fast enough. I wasn't fast enough for the 400. That's where I just found my friends, and that's where I saw the most improvement. I did get faster later, and that's where I eventually dropped down to being like an 800 specialist. But that's where I found success early, and I kind of just like, hey, stick with it, see where it goes.
Yeah.
Just don't really quit the sport, and when I didn't quit, I got better.
So then you graduated high school, and you ran a little bit in college, but not a lot?
Yeah, I practiced with the team at Chicago State the first semester, and I kind of just went away from running. It's just so time consuming.
Yeah.
And college, you're thinking about girls and parties.
Don't want to put the miles in.
Don't want to put the miles in. Absolutely.
Yeah. So then you take a little break. What gets you back into the sport?
Watching Instagram, seeing what's happening in like other cities, seeing what's happening with Nike Run Club. I would really say like the inspiration would be like the clothes and the swag and like New York. New York has a really huge running community.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of crews and clubs, and like that culture was super fascinating to me. And I want to say like 2014, 2013 is when I was like thinking of run club names that all were really terrible.
Got any you want to share?
Bronzeville Boys, a whole bunch of just not really good names.
Not as cool as 7onSundays.
Yeah, and really, to be quite honest, like that was not the name that we thought. It just kind of,
It's
like,
stuck.
hey, we're going to run at this time. And it just kind of stuck. We were like, we're going to run this time, but we're going to think about a name eventually. And it just kind of stuck.
It's a cool name. It conveys information. Like you said, it can be like whatever you want it to be. You know.
I like it now.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows it. But
yeah. So that was what, almost 10 years ago. But your first marathon wasn't until last fall up in Toronto. So how did you really, at what distances did you compete and run in these last 10 years?
5Ks. Before the marathon, I did an 8K. I did Shamrock.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the only races. I did an ultra relay in between that.
Yeah.
It kind of prepared me for the marathon, but I don't have a lot of races under my belt, to be honest, past high school.
Gotcha.
Cross country, of course, I did 5Ks, and that's it.
We talked about the ultra relay, I think, when we talked last week. Can you just go through that and what that experience was like? Because that's something that's always kind of really, I don't know if it's appealed to me, it's interested me in the ways that maybe a marathon has, and maybe it's something I'll do down the road.
I always say it's kind of transformative, especially for your first one. Especially my first one. It was from Toronto to Chicago, so that's a very, very big distance. That's a lot to jump into when the longest race you've done was a 5K. But it appealed to me because the group that was hosting it reached out and saying they wanted to come to Chicago and they wanted us to be a part of it. They really just wanted us to like help them cheer them on. I was like, no, you have to put me on the bus. And I trained for that, and it was through a lot of very sketchy places, and I think that's what kind of unlocked the fact that I still have a little bit of potential as a runner that I kind of gave up when I got back into running and just was doing it for fun. But fight or flight kicked in in a certain part of that run, and I was like, oh, you can do this. Why not do it when you're not scared to?
Yeah, that makes sense. How does it work with like crossing the border in that situation? Everyone gets on the van and then
they stop you right there.
The
person that's running probably just make sure you have your passport in your pocket. It's probably going to be sweaty. They'll believe you because they're not going to want to touch it.
Yeah.
But you present your passport just like you regularly would. That is the one pause that we have. But other than that, it's just all go.
Yeah.
Was at 72 hours.
It's amazing.
Like, what are you eating during this? Are you just about bars and?
So that's what I thought for my first one, but everybody on that bus was eating whatever they wanted. A lot of
So meet you at the McDonald's up there.
Yes, no, absolutely. Like next time, like we're going for a McDonald's sponsorship. That's what's on the road. There were a lot of sausage biscuits and 20-piece nuggets. When I finally decided that I wanted to eat and not do salads and cute stuff because I was dying.
They stopped at Tim Hortons.
Everybody had Timmy's for sure.
The sausage biscuit for McDonald's, that's a good go-to.
Like 2 or 3, you need all of the calories you
Yes.
can get. You're burning so many.
Fueled by bear claws. Hey, shout out to Marcos who says, happy Tuesday, fellas. Hoping your training is going well, Kevin. 2 months and counting until the marathon. Absolutely. And Kyle says, hi, Aaron.
Yeah, that's my boy. He's a huge Bears fan. So
That's awesome.
That's probably why he's watching the show as well. And he's a marathoner. He really like transformed me as a runner as well. He's also like 6'3".
Very cool. The Tall Runners Club. We need to have a tall running club.
That's what we're doing.
Our new
Big
thing.
Body Run Club.
Big Body Run Club. I love it. We talked last week. I mean, you alluded to this, just a few minutes ago, saying it was kind of a couple sketchy areas when you were running from Toronto to Chicago. And I think you told me like it was, quite honestly, it was like you felt uncomfortable being a black man running through those. I mean, what is that like? I mean, it's obviously something that I cannot relate to, but and we've seen with the story of Ahmaud Arbery, like in 2020, he was chased by 3 white men and murdered. I mean, what challenges is that faced? Like every time you go out, it's something that you have to think about.
Yeah. It's not something I worry so much about in Chicago, but we were running through like rural parts of like Michigan and Indiana. And quite frankly, like I also don't have to think about running in the dark. Like we're very well lit city. There at 3 a.m, the only thing you can see is your feet in front of you with the headlamp you have, and pickup trucks riding past. So it was definitely with Ahmaud Arbery in the back of my mind, and just all those situations. I had an idea or goal to like run at a certain pace so I can save my legs. But I just could not stop myself from running faster because I was like, get through this leg as soon as possible, get back on that bus.
Yeah. Do you think 7onSundays and I guess just even the Southside running community throughout the week, I mean, do you think that helps normalize it and, so people know that this is something that happens here? Or?
I hope it does. That's the goal at least. Yeah. I think that's the short answer for it.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about the 2023 Chicago Marathon. I'm entered. You're entered. How is your training going?
To be quite honest, it's not as great as I want it to be. I did get 15 miles in this weekend as well.
Good.
I normally would start a little bit earlier. I would have had a 20-miler or so under my belt. So it's not going the way I would have liked it, but it's life is lifing at this moment. I switched to a overnight job at a nightclub, and it's been having trouble finding.
That seems problematic, yeah.
Very problematic. I've learned that for now it's like run immediately when you get off. It's 5 a.m. So it's cooler outside, and then I'm already up. So just get home. That's kind of how my training's been going now that I figured it out. I've done it before, so I have confidence that I'll cross the finish line, but not really searching for a PB.
Well, I think you're undercutting yourself a little bit because you did turn in a nice time in Toronto, even though I know it wasn't the one that you wanted, but I mean, compared to like where I'm going to finish, it was a nice time. But you said like this one, you're going to you want to finish, and then you're actually entered in the Dallas Marathon. And how much farther is that after October 8th?
It's December 8th, so I got 2 months.
Okay.
And I really, last minute, I was like, hey, this isn't going the way I want. I need some redemption, and I need it immediately. We can't close out 2023 without a good training block.
Gotcha. So is that Dallas a lot easier to get into, or was there anything?
Yeah, it's not really a raffle or anything like that, or a lottery, I should say. And it was open. I I figure it shouldn't be too hot in Texas in December, but
One would hope not. But
yeah, I'm crossing my fingers.
The way the climate change is going, like, who knows? I mean,
it could be 90.
Did you see like the Apple weather yesterday? Like, for some reason there was an error on the app, and it said next Wednesday was going to be 112 degrees.
Correct.
And I was like,
yes.
But now it's back down to 90.
Well, it's still we're like 98 or something. It's still terrible.
Still not great.
Still terrible. I will still be dreadfully running on a treadmill.
The humidity is. I can't run on a treadmill. I don't have a treadmill, and I just can't do it. Like,
I did my first. I was on vacation in Memphis last week. I did my first hour on a treadmill ever. I hate treadmills as well.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if like you lived in Memphis or even more south, you probably have to do it. I don't think there's any way around it. But I mean, I see like in these Facebook groups, someone will be like, I just ran 17 miles on a treadmill, and it's like, there's just no way. There's no movie long enough. There's just no way. Like
treadmills, you're not doing it.
Like 3 miles you can maybe do, but 17.
Like, I like treadmill. It's good. But I mean, it's just because you're just staring at the same thing. You're not going anywhere. Is that why?
Yeah.
Not even like when there's a TV on it. Like if you're at a hotel or whatever, like I can't even focus on the television.
It's like the hamster on the wheel kind of situation. It's
Sure.
not fun at all.
So my training's going all right. I did 15 miles. What was crazy to me was the week before, it was a 10-mile run. It was a cutback week, and I struggled through it. I mean, 10 miles, it seemed like I was out there for 4 hours. And I did 15 pretty easily this time. And I don't understand, like, being new to these distances, I feel like I go into these cutback weeks and I almost underestimate them. Like, oh, this will be easy. I just did 7 and 8 miles. This week is only 5 miles. And then that 5 miles is tough. I did whatever it was, 13 and 12, cut back to 10. And then the 10 is tougher than the 12 and 13. So this week is 16, but the week after is 12. So I'm assuming that 12 is, I don't know how to get ready for those. You know what I'm saying? Like, to get mentally prepared for every single run has been difficult. I can get up for the longer runs, but the shorter runs has been really weird. So I don't know if you have any feedback on that.
The feedback I would say, I'm mostly giving you feedback from my first marathon training because this one, again, isn't going as well. Mm-hmm. But stick to the plan. Just get out there and see what happens. Yeah. There's so many variables that you don't really get down on. Hey, I can't complete a 5-miler when you know you've done a 10-miler or a 12-miler before. Maybe it's the weather that day. Maybe you are just tired. It's just all about kind of listening to your body. A little bit of forcing yourself out there because you'll notice that you have a little bit more than you thought you did at sometimes. And like that high when you finally do complete those longer distances will give you more confidence.
That's pretty cool.
Throughout.
Well, I did the 15 miles on Friday morning and then basically came downtown, did a little bit of work here, and then went to Bruce Springsteen. It was out till 2 a.m. No napping on any of it. So that's not bad for a 44-year-old dude.
You did have Wiener Circle.
Lifestyle.
What'd you say?
You did have Wiener Circle.
I did have Wiener Circle at the end. That was earned.
It was fueled by Wiener Circle.
The one thing though, I somehow got lost in my own neighborhood. I mapped a path through the forest preserve, and there's a whole bunch of different paths. And I kind of committed it to memory, or I thought I did, and got all sorts of turned around. And it was like the sort of thing where I'm running east for a mile before I realize that I'm running east. And then I get turned around. I'm like, okay, I'll just go this way. And I pass my kid's school. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to run this way. And then I get to a street that I think I'm going to go that will get me back to my path. But I actually turned the other way. And I'm like, why did I see my kid's school again? Why is that? And I'm like, I'm running the wrong way again. So at that point, I was just committed to the map. The map is just like this, all over the place. Saw a couple different things 2-3 times. It all worked out in the end. Also, my GPS stopped 3 times, which is never any good. Like that kind of annoys me because I wanted to see the 15.0 when I got to it. Instead, it was like a 2.7, an 8.3, and
it's like, it's not me. I did the distance.
I know. So, but I like to put it on social media, and you can't put it on social media. You can't put like 3 screen grabs on social media. So
absolutely, it doesn't count
there. So
it's not on Strava. It does not count.
that's right. Strava, like I'm still very intimidated by it. I downloaded it. It's a little bit more complicated than Nike Run Club.
Go private. That's what I would say.
Okay.
So nobody else like sees when you're not doing as great.
I don't care about that, but I'm just like, it just seems a little bit more complicated to use.
I think it's easier.
Really?
I think it's easier. The maps there, it does have more complicated data, but like that's kind of the data you'd like.
That I want. Okay.
But navigating NRC, sorry Nike, has just been quite a task.
Yeah. Baloney's in the house. He says, running for the clout, LOL. I mean, why else run if not for the clout? So.
Absolutely.
How many 7 on Sundays members are running the marathon this year?
Hard to count. It's definitely around 20 plus this year, though.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And they're all over the spectrum of in terms of times and whatever.
Absolutely. We will have a 5-hour guy. We will definitely have somebody that's going to break 3 hours.
Okay.
All over the spectrum. I'm probably going to be a 5-hour guy this year.
I think you're going to break 4 in Dallas, though.
I hope so. That's the plan. The plan is to get the original plan from 2021.
Best advice for just running in Chicago. I think running in Chicago is a little different because you have to compete with cars and bikes and dogs and whatever. Like what if you're running either on the south side or anywhere in Chicago, like what's the best advice?
Yeah, definitely watch out for cars. Honestly, like my test runs or my training runs are on the lakefront. Or I just like go to a trail. It's 30 minutes out. I'm really enjoying the trails. Some of them are paved.
Yeah.
Bussy Woods, I think, is one of that's probably my favorite for like getting a gauge on how I'm gonna do.
If you can find the crushed gravel, that's like the way to go.
Yeah. Crushed gravel, crushed limestone. My 2 favorite trails, if you can get out to them, are Bussy Woods and I don't know, I'm drawing a blank on another one, but it's
Waterfall Glen.
Waterfall Glen is amazing.
Yeah.
9 Mile Loop, a little bit of incline, but it's just a nice cruise. Get away from like the cars and any bikers and anything like that.
Yeah, Waterfall Glen is out by me. I'm by the Arboretum. Arboretum is nice, although it's asphalt, but it's a lot of elevation change, which is nice. So, what are you most looking forward to? Chicago Marathon.
All the aid stations, the food, just honestly seeing everybody in the larger running community, kind of treating it like a parade. Like I said, I'm not going for a certain time.
Yeah.
But I kind of just want to have fun. I'm definitely looking forward to mile 23. That's where 7 on Sundays sets up and cheers.
Okay.
And this will be my first time being on the other side of it. I kind of coordinated the cheer stations. It's going to be even bigger this year, and I'm glad to be celebrated by the crew.
Awesome. So, and 23 is kind of where you need really we've had a couple people on here who have run in the past, and they said, look, if you have your people out here, they're going to be downtown, they're going to come to Greektown. Make sure they get out south, like by Sox Park and whatever, because that's where you need your people, because it gets a little bit more open there. But I think it's like in Pilsen and now it sounds like 7 on Sundays is trying to fill a void out there as well.
Yeah, it's still relatively dead other than right there on 35th and Indiana. And like, again, like everything was just so convenient for us to have space and to take up space. There wasn't anybody there. That's right down the street from where we normally meet anyway.
Oh, that's awesome.
And our runners that have run the marathon already let us know that, like, hey, that's where we need support. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
And for that small speck where we're at, for the people that aren't running, they're going to be louder than anywhere else because they know that you need that energy.
Well, I love that I've had you on this podcast, because now I know that exists. And, if I get to mile 18 or 19, I'm going to say, all right, only 4 more to go before I see 7 on Sundays.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be awesome. So, good luck on October 8th. Is there anything else you'd kind of like to push or say about 7 on Sundays?
I think we covered all of it. We just want to be a great representation for the South Side and the larger running community.
Yeah.
Building everybody up. We will definitely be cheering you on throughout the process. Maybe we'll run by together.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get out there at 7 on Sunday. I'll bring Lawrence. So Lawrence is a accomplished runner.
Yeah, no. Sorry.
Not training this year.
I mean, the combination of 7 a.m. and running is probably not my goal in life at this point, but sure.
You never know. One day, Lawrence. So
Sure, one day.
One day.
All right, we want to thank everyone for tuning in to this 6th episode of CHGO Marathon. We'll be back next week on August 22nd. Guest TBD, but we're efforting some cool things down the road. Just kind of building this. So really appreciate everyone's input on this. Go buy those CHGO Marathon tech shirts at chgolocker.com. And remember, if you make a donation through my donation link on my social profiles to Cal's Angels, I will send you a CHGO Marathon sticker. Till next time, happy running, and thanks for tuning into the CHGO Marathon Podcast.